When life gets busy, meal prep can be incredibly helpful for getting some of your time back while still enjoying wholesome home cooking. In this video, I'm showing you a 1-hour meal prep that will set you up with the components to create 5 different meals throughout the week. From a Thai tofu and squash curry to a delicious roasted aubergine pasta. We're cooking for 2 people, so you'll actually have a total of 10 meals, and once the meal prep is done, it'll only take you 10 to 15 minutes to create each dish. I've also created a handy PDF that you can follow along. All you have to do is become a free member on my Patreon page and download it for free. The key to this type of meal prep is to cook components that you can use across multiple meals, such as these simple and nourishing stewed lentils that we'll use in 3 different dishes, or these roasted vegetables that we'll get started on straight away. First things first, get yourself a large baking tray, and I'm going to line it with baking paper just to save on washing up. Whenever I do a meal prep, I first look at what's in season. So for this meal prep, we've got a lovely massive butternut squash, some aubergine, and some seasonal greens. And then just set that aside. For the butternut squash, we're going to keep this really simple. Just remove the top and the bottom. Whenever I'm meal prepping, I'll bring the food bin a bit closer so I can quickly get rid of scraps and keep prepping. We're then just going to cut the butternut squash in half. Make sure you've got a nice sharp knife, and then just go straight through the middle. Then with a spoon, just scrape out the seeds. If you want, you can keep these and roast them, and then just pop your butternut squash onto the roasting tray. For the aubergine, I'm going to do the exact same and remove the top and bottom, and then just slice in half. I will also just quickly score the flesh in a diamond pattern, and then onto the roasting tray. And then the last component we're going to be roasting is some chickpeas, so we can make some nice crispy chickpeas. So I've just rinsed these and I'm going to quickly dry them off on this tea towel. Make sure you've got a nice clean tea towel, of course. Get them nice and dry so that they crisp up really nicely when roasted. You'll probably notice that some of the skins come loose, and you can just quickly pick them off if you want to, but you don't have to. Then just tip your chickpeas onto the baking tray. Then drizzle over a good couple of tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, or any oil of your choice, and season with flaky sea salt and also a good crack of black pepper. And then just get in there with your hands and give everything a good mix up. Make sure it's all nice and coated in the seasoning and the olive oil. And I'm just going to spread out the chickpeas nicely, get that aubergine nice and coated. I'm going to start the aubergine and the squash skin side up so it gets some nice color on it. And then we'll just pop that in the oven and check on it every 20 minutes or so, as the chickpeas and the aubergine are going to take less time than the squash. Getting meal prep done quickly is all about multitasking, so while we've got these vegetables roasting, we're going to get on with the stewed lentils and all the other components. For the stewed lentils, just heat up a large pan. And then once hot, add a tablespoon of olive oil. And then add in your onion, and we're going to cook that into it's lightly golden. I've also got my lentils soaking in warm water while the onion cooks, just so that they cook a little bit quicker. Also going to add a small pinch of salt to the onions. So the onion's been cooking for about 5 minutes, and it's starting to go lovely and caramelized and brown. So I'm going to add in some minced garlic. And we'll just cook out the garlic for about 30-60 seconds. We're keeping the lentils really simply flavored, as we're going to be using these in different dishes with different cuisines, and we don't want any sort of mismatches going on. You can then add in your lentils and your vegetable stock, and then just bring them to a simmer. So the roasted veg and chickpeas have had about 20 minutes, and the chickpeas are looking beautifully golden and crispy, so I'm just going to scoop them out into a Tupperware. So I think the aubergine will probably have another 10 minutes and the squash probably another 20 minutes. The lentils have come to a simmer, so I'm going to pop a lid on, turn the heat down to its lowest setting. The lentils have had about 15 minutes of cooking, and we're going to add in our chopped tomatoes. You could also use passata if you wanted, and that would cook in a bit quicker as it's already blended. I like to cook the lentils first without any tomato in, as the acidity can actually slow down the rate at which they cook. So I like to first get them fairly soft and then add in the chopped tomatoes, and we'll cook them now for another maybe 15-20 minutes potentially. So the veggies are roasting, the lentils are stewing. We're now going to blanch off some green veggies. I'm going to be doing kale and broccoli, but you can use anything. That's spring greens, chard, green beans, it's totally up to you. We'll boil these for about 3 minutes, and then we're going to repurpose the water to cook some noodles, but also to brine some tofu. So the greens have had about 3 minutes, and I'm just going to use this slotted spoon to remove them into a colander. Now, because I want these greens to stay nice and fresh and vibrant, I'm going to douse them in cold water, and that's going to stop the cooking process and keep them really nice and green. First way we're going to repurpose this water is by cooking these rice noodles, and I'm just going to ladle over enough of this hot veggie water, essentially, onto the noodles until they're covered. So they're now covered, and I'll just leave them for 3 minutes to cook. We're also going to use the water to brine some tofu, so I'm just going to put about a tablespoon of salt into a large bowl, and then add in your hot water. Give that a little stir to dissolve the salt, and then just gently add in your tofu, making sure it's all well covered. We'll leave this for about 10 minutes. It does sound like a lot of salt, but it's essential for ensuring it firms up the tofu and seasons it well. So it's been about 40 minutes for these roast vegetables, and the squash is looking lovely and caramelized. The aubergine too. I think I'm going to take the aubergine out now, and the squash we're just going to give maybe 10 more minutes. The lentils are looking good now. They've absorbed most of the liquid. They're nice and soft, and the tomatoes have broken down. Now that the cooking's done, we've just got a couple of really easy bits of prep. Starting with a simple harissa dressing. Into a jar, add your harissa paste. The color of this is just incredible. Beautiful, smoky, bright red, really delicious. You can get harissa in most supermarkets now. Then we'll add lemon juice, a touch of maple syrup, a little grate of black pepper, and a small pinch of salt. Then just top it up with olive oil. And then pop your lid on and just give it a really good shake. And make sure that lid is on really well. You do not want harissa flown across your kitchen. And there you go, that's a really simple dressing that's going to be beautiful on the salad and also in the tofu pita-breads. And finally, we're going to make a quick carrot slaw simply by grating 1 carrot. I like to hold it at a bit of an angle and do quite long strokes down the grater so you get quite nice long bits of carrot. And to that carrot, I'm just going to add some finely chopped fresh coriander, the juice of half a lime, and then lastly, just a few cumin seeds. And then just give that a little mix. So that is the meal prep portion of the video done. We've got our brined tofu, we've got these simple stewed lentils, the cooked rice noodles, the beautiful roasted aubergine, crispy chickpeas, a very simple harissa dressing, quick grated carrot sort of slaw / salad, and the roast butternut squash, and last but not least, the blanched greens, which are still nice and vibrant and green. So with our prep complete, let's move on to creating 5 different delicious meals. We're going to start with the roast squash salad, and I'm going to add in the crispy chickpeas. I'll keep a few back to go on top though. I like to do this recipe early in the week as the chickpeas will lose some of their crunch as the days go on. So I've just added some of the carrot slaw. Then I'm going in with some of those beautiful, vibrant greens. Of course, we're going to add in some diced roast squash. I'm also just going to add in a handful of rocket. We've got crunch from the chickpeas, but I'm also going to add in some toasted pecans, which I had in the cupboard. I've just crushed them up in a pestle and mortar. And then just give your harissa dressing another shake, just so it's all nice and emulsified. And we'll just pour that over. Be generous. And then get in there and give it all a good mix. Oh, I can smell that harissa. If you want an oil-free harissa dressing, I've got a tahini harissa dressing that I made in a previous video, and I'll link that in the description box. And then we'll just top this with a few of those crunchy chickpeas. Next up is the harissa tofu pita breads. So the tofu's been nicely salted from the brine. We're then going to add some smoked paprika, some ground cumin, and some corn flour, and just give that a toss. You can fry this tofu, you can roast it, or you can air fry it like me. And I'm just gonna add a little drizzle of olive oil, and I'll probably give it 10, maybe 12 minutes in the air fryer. So I've just scooped the flesh out of some of the squash, and I'm going to add in some of that harissa dressing, almost to make like a squash hummus slash paste. You could add some tahini here to give it a more of a hummusy vibe, but I'm just gonna mix that through with a fork. So we're gonna have a really nice harissa roast squash puree here to go into our pita bread. Then get your pita bread. I've got a gluten-free one here, just because we're doing a little gluten-free experiment. And just cut it in half so you've got the two pockets. I'm going to start with a spoonful of that squash puree. Just get a nice layer of that in. Then a few pieces of that crispy tofu. And then lastly, some of that carrot slaw. I will just drizzle a little bit of that harissa dressing as well, just over the top. That's gonna be so good.
For the Thai-inspired squash and tofu curry, just heat up 1 tablespoon of a neutral flavoured oil.
Now you don't have to fry the tofu. Sometimes I will just add it in as it is, and that's perfectly fine. But if you've got time, giving it a quick fry can be a nice thing to do. So we'll just give it a few minutes so it gets a little bit of colour on each side. So it's just been a few minutes, the tofu is nicely browned on each side. And we're going to add a few tablespoons, I think we'll go for 3 tablespoons of this Thai curry paste. Stir that through, let it sizzle and cook out the aromatics. I'm then going to add in half a can of coconut milk. And then some of those stewed lentils. Also going to add a big handful of fresh coriander, the roasted squash, and then bring everything to a simmer and we'll let that cook for about 5-8 minutes.
Now, although I used a green curry paste, we're going to go for more of a yellow Thai curry vibe due to the tomatoes in the stewed lentils. And I'm also going to add half a teaspoon of ground turmeric.
4 minutes of cooking, I'm going to add in some greens. Some of the blanched greens that we did earlier. I'm also going to add in the rice noodles. They'll take no time at all to heat through, and you don't want to cook it for too long or else the noodles and the veggies are going to overcook. Finish off your Thai curry with a sprinkling of coriander and a wedge of lime. For the aubergine pasta, we're just going to start by getting some pasta on the boil. I'm using some gluten-free lentil pasta, but feel free to use any pasta of your choice. Then into a pan, I'm just going to add a tablespoon of tomato puree, as I want to make this extra tomatoey. Also going to add a sprinkle of oregano, and we'll just let that sizzle for a quick second, and then add in your diced aubergine. I will just add a little drizzle of olive oil. We'll just fry off this tomato puree to really bring out the sweetness of the tomato. Then we're going to add in our stewed lentils and just a little splash of water, and then just mix that through. And then I'll just let that simmer for 3 minutes while the pasta finishes off cooking. You could add some sun-dried tomatoes to the sauce or some capers. You can really elevate it from here, but I'm just going to go for a simple aubergine and tomato pasta sauce with the added nutrients of those stewed lentils. Pasta's cooked, I'm just going to throw that in, and I'm also going to add a splash of the pasta water as well, and then just stir that through. Give it 30 seconds, you don't want to cook it for too long in the sauce, or else the pasta is going to overcook. And there you have a very simple but tasty aubergine pasta, aubergine and tomato pasta. And I'm going to finish it with a little bit of rocket and a drizzle of olive oil. A little balsamic vinegar would be nice as well. And there you go. For the curried lentil soup, we're simply going to get a medium saucepan over a medium heat. Then add a drizzle of olive oil, followed by a teaspoon of cumin seeds, a teaspoon of coriander seeds, and 1 tablespoon of a mild or medium curry powder. It's up to you. Let those sizzle and toast just for 30 seconds, and then we're going to add in the diced aubergine. followed by the stewed lentils. And then go in with some veggie stock or water. And then once it comes to a simmer, just let it gently cook for about 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, I'm then going to add in some more of those lovely blanched greens just to finish it off. I'm also going to add some freshly chopped fresh coriander. We'll just let the greens heat through for about 2 minutes and then we'll be ready to serve. This would be delicious with some crunchy naan bread to dip into it. I'm going to add some vegan yogurt and a dollop of mango chutney. Can't forget a few leaves of coriander as well. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that video. Be sure to download the free PDF guide. You can scan this QR code here or there'll be a link in the description box.